South Sudan plans to realize a near-decade-long dream to build a major dam along the Nile River in a bid to provide cheap, reliable electricity and help prevent devastating floods, the country's Deputy Foreign Minister told the South Sudanese national magazine. The world's youngest country is plagued by flooding, a lack of power, water scarcity and poor infrastructure, but the project is part of the oil revenue-funded government's plan to fix its many ills, the minister said in Juba ahead of the 10th anniversary of independence. Abtam Shagri has more.
The South Sudan government has a plan to build a dam over the Nile River for the generation of electricity as well as to expand industrialization. Talking with National South Sudanese magazine, South Sudan Irrigation Minister Deng Du Malek said the most of South Sudan is flooded due to the upper Nile is underwater. We weren't given the opportunity as a country to think and plan. You look at the needs of the population, you look at the growing industries, he said. Malek has been instructed to start conducting initial studies to help draft plans, including how tall the dam will need to be, the size of the reservoir behind the structure, and the number of turbines it could power. Through the country flows the White Nile, one of the two main tributaries feeding the Nile River that meets and mixes near Khartoum with the Blue Nile that flows from the Ethiopian highlands. Seasonal rain pounded South Sudan's 10 states for the last 7 months of the year, sending massive cascades of water into the White Nile, but also causing damaging flooding. Ethiopia's $5 billion Grand Renaissance Dam project on the Blue Nile, soon to be Africa's largest hydroelectric power project, has caused friction with downstream neighbors Sudan and Egypt. On whether South Sudan's proposed dam might also cause issues with Sudan and Egypt, Malek echoed his counterparties in Addis Ababa in saying that it was their prerogative to use the water resource. It's our sovereign right, but the Nile water is shared. This will be done in conjunction with Sudan, Uganda, Ethiopia, and Egypt, Malek added. The South Sudanese government is moved capitalizing the equitable utilization of Abai River concerns of Ethiopia's government based on international declarations and principles. Addressing the standoff between Ethiopia and its downstream neighbors over its mega dam project, Malek urged cooperation and dialogue. The Nile water shouldn't be a curse but a peaceful, God-given commodity to the region. Our view as a government, we encourage Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia to discuss and have a better dialogue to arrive to acceptable solutions. Malek stresses that military solutions should never be the answer. Any source of water can cause a problem to most of these countries, but we don't encourage a military solution to the crisis. This should not be the answer to that, he said.
The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia said over 8,200 candidates from 45 political parties have participated in the 6th general election across the country. Information obtained from the board shows that 154,000 electoral executives have participated in the election. Of the total 547 parliament seats, the National Election Board of Ethiopia conducted electoral activities for 445 seats on June 15, 2021. The board is also undertaking preparations to verify electoral results in the coming few days. Well, I'm now joined on the phone by Yeshua Sasefa, chairperson of the Ethiopian Citizens for Social Justice Party, to share us his party's observation of the election so far. Thank you for having you, Mr. Yeshua.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, as a chairperson of the Ethiopian Citizens for Social Justice Party, what is your evaluation of the election so far?
Thank you again. Our evaluation is mixed, as we stated in our press release. On one hand, it is finalized relatively peacefully. The whole, especially the polling process, was finished peacefully. So we are happy on that. We didn't lose our citizens' lives, properties, as elections which conducted earlier, that the 5 elections. So we are happy that it concluded peacefully. On the other hand, we are not seeing the different results from the previous elections. When you see some results posted in election district polls, it is almost the same as the results of the earlier 5 elections. So we are feeling we have mixed feelings on this, and we actually are happy that it is finalized with relatively peaceful status.
Well, you have requested the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia to address your concerns regarding the election. How hopeful are you about the outcome?
As a party, Zema believes that every activities that are raised should be conducted peacefully, legally. We have to respect the institutions, the election board, the Human Rights Commission, the justice system. So we want to use this legal system. Actually, we do have so many complaints. Probably you heard that we submitted more than 400 complaints to election board. So they didn't make a decision yet. So we are waiting for, on one hand, their final results, because they are the institutions who are subjected to release the results. It is not the parties, it is not the ruling party, or it is not the activists, even it is not the observers to announce the results. It is only election board that should announce who wins in each election districts, and in general as a nation, as a region. So we are waiting the election board's final saying, and we are also in particular waiting the election board again to respond to our complaints. Some of them can change the results, we believe. So if not, if the election board is not responding correctly, or if we didn't believe on their final sayings, we will go to the next legal institution, which is the justice system. So we do have, as I said, more than 400 complaints all over the country. As you know, IZEMA is the largest opposition party in the country. We covered 455 election districts, which is out of 547, which is around 85 or 90% of the nation's coverage of the election districts. So as we covered large areas, we faced large problems, big problems, or vast problems in the election process. Even though we are facing these problems, every problem, every encounters are below the nation, below the people of Ethiopia. So as many citizens may witness, IZEMA is going peacefully and respecting the rule of law.
Well, Mr. Yeshwas Assefa, chairperson of the Ethiopian Social Citizens for Social Justice, thank you for your information.
Thank you very much for having me. Good night.
Legal experts commended Ethiopia's elections as peaceful and transparent despite some irregularities, both serious and minor. They also suggested that complaints from contesting political parties should be resolved very soon using all the legally established mechanisms. According to the legal experts approached by TV, any other way of resolving the disputes will disrupt the post-election process and pollute the prevailing peace. Goshumalisa reports.
The sixth national election has gripped Ethiopia for the past 2 weeks. Many agree that Ethiopia has conducted peaceful election despite some irregularities. It is to be recalled that the National Electoral Board itself admitted serious irregularities like intimidation of poll watchers in Amhara and South Nation's nationalities peoples. Also, some vote counts have been challenged. Legal experts approached by TV lauded the peaceful nature of the process.
The election was peaceful. Whether it is fair or otherwise, that will be the decision of the National Election Board. But as a citizen, I can tell you that it was peaceful, so it was successful. There were organs from inside, groups from inside, and interest groups and nations from outside who were working against this election. There were pressures against conducting this election.
We're advocating fair, free election. The end goal is it should be accepted by the public. It should be accepted by the opposition parties even.
The legal reforms taken by the government, they said, helps conduct peaceful elections, citing electoral board. The process, according to the experts, helps resolve disputes much better than used to be the case until 3 years ago.
There have been very serious of reforms for the last 3 years. In that case, I think the electoral board have been it's a very good progress, honestly speaking. So they can be cited as an example for other institutions.
The legal sphere reform is particularly the election process, having an independent, impartial, competent electoral board. And I believe we have now established that. It can't be perfect overnight. It will never be perfect. It will progress to perfection. Now we have this election. Now you can see this electoral process from the very beginning of the constitution of the board itself, how it selected its workers, employees who are conducting the election in each polling station and those kinds of things. It is not like we had in the previous elections that cadres are appointed in some corner, but this one, it's conducted by professionals.
They also suggested that complaints from opposition political parties should be resolved through legal procedure, otherwise it disrupts post-election process.
There are such complaint resolution mechanisms put in place in the law, both at election constituencies, in the National Election Board, and in the court. So there are procedures to be followed, and parties can handle that in fairly expeditious manner. As I said already, the courts have allocated dedicated benches for this particular issue because election disputes are time sensitive. They have to be resolved immediately because the National Election Board has to declare results to the public first in 5 days, if it's not possible in 10 days, if there are disputes in 20 days. And if there are extended disputes, I think the court may take some time.
It might also disrupt the post-election period. So when we talk about election, we are talking about pre-election, election day, and post-election. So those three periods, they have their own significance, and they should be managed very seriously.
The legal experts urged contesting political parties to adhere their pre-election patience until final results are announced by mandated electoral board.
As Ethiopia finds itself in the midst of vote counting and certifying results, various scholars continue to reflect on the election on Monday, the 6th since 1995. Media and conflict resolution expert Ida Gashaw told TV that the peaceful completion of the election is a clear testimony that Ethiopia is on the right track in the democratization process and widening the political space. Alula Teklemaryam had the details.
In an exclusive interview with ATV English, media and conflict resolution expert Ida Gashaw mentioned her observation about the election process, calling it fair and transparent.
This was the first real election, and it's a momentous occasion. It's enormous, and for me, who lived through the previous elections, it's a moment to take reflection and a celebration of taking the first step towards democracy in our 2000+ history.
Ida further called upon opposition political parties to accept the election outcome, whatever it could be, adding democracy is a process.
So that's the one thing, is that the process has already been so credible that it's easy to accept. And I believe that as it has been peaceful so far, if there are issues to be discussed, to do so in a peaceful manner, to bring the issues to the table, and have a dialogue on what the issues were, is the way forward. Because that's the only way that democracy works, is through dialogue, through debate, and making sure there is accountability on all sides.
She further underscored that the polls on Monday remains historic, in that they imply that the nation is on the right track in the democratization process and widening political space.
Well, what I hope the implication that it has for the international community is that Ethiopians are on their way to democracy. That this is the first step that we've taken. No matter what has been said in the past, this is it. That no matter what issues we have internally, that we're working on it to make sure that at least the Ethiopians are sending their representatives to parliament, so that the Ethiopian issues are being discussed by who they chose, which is the bedrock of democracy. So that's what the implication I hope the international community is getting.
Ida also told ETV how biased and partial the Western media outlets remained throughout the process.
تعديلنا تقاهدو تحلمنا تعديلنا تقاهدو تحلمنا ششاينا ديو سسينو عميرو وتورينا
ውድ ተመልካቾቼ አሁን ማሳያችሁ የትግረኛ የእግር አጣጣል ነው። ስለዚህ የትግረኛ የእግር አጣጣልና የሚሽከረከሩትን አጨፋፍ ነው። ደብል ሲንግል ሲሄድ 1 2 1 2 እዛ ጋር ሆናችሁ ረጋ ብላችሁ ከእንደገና ነው መመለስ። ስለዚህ 1 2 1 2 ተቀመጣችሁ ማለት። ስለዚህ ደብል እየሰራችሁ እንደምታው እንዲህ መሽከርከር 1 2 1 በነገራችን ላይ ይህ ጭፈራ ለሴቶችም ለወንዶችም ይሆናል። ሴቶች እንደዚህ ቀሚሳቸውን ይዘው ወንዶች ደግሞ እጃቸውን በመልቀቅ እንደዚህ የሚሰሩ ስራ ይሆናል። ስለዚህ 1 2 1 2 ስለዚህ ይህ ስራ የሚጠቅመው ወደፊት ወደ ኋላ መሄድ ከፈለጋችሁ እንደዚህ ለመስከተል ከፈለጋችሁ
Welcome back, you're watching this News Hour. Germany and Denmark have pledged support to the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission in fulfilling its mandate to promote and protect human rights. German ambassador to Ethiopia, Stefan Orr, stated a strengthened Ethiopian Human Rights Commission is an important contributor to building peace and societal cohesion needed for the country's reforms to be successful. Germany is looking forward to working closely with the Commission and other partners, he said. Protection and promotion of human rights through strong national institutions are key priorities of the Danish country program to Ethiopia, and Denmark will look forward to continue the good cooperation, Danish ambassador to Ethiopia Karin Poulsen noted. On the occasion, Daniel Bekele, Chief Commissioner of Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, on his part said, the Commission is committed to promotion and protection of human rights, standing with victims of human rights violations and upholding justice and accountability. This cooperation also will help Ethiopia's move towards democratic governance, rule of law and respect for human rights obligations. The Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation EBC and UNICEF have signed a memorandum of understanding to work together on children's rights. The agreement was signed on behalf of the institutions by Neguse Matuku, CEO of EBC, and Adel Koudr, UNICEF representative in Ethiopia. During the occasion, Neguse said EBC has been working to protect children's rights through its various broadcasts, and the present agreement with UNICEF will further reinforce this work.
As to my experience, it's possible to say that it is UNICEF which is a genuine development partner, specifically for Ethiopia in the education sector and in the health sector. So working with UNICEF is, as I said, very much important for us as a public and national media broadcaster. Unlike other media broadcasters, EBC has double responsibility. We have corporate social responsibility to work on societal issues, government issues, public issues. I think this kind of cooperation, working with you, makes us expand our own responsibility, as I said. As you are working on this critical issue, children, focusing on children, working on children, is very much important as for any country, since the sustainability of the country highly depends on the young generation.
Representative in Ethiopia, Adel Koudr, on her part, said much is still to be done in order to improve the lives of children. As to the representative, an estimated 1 million children in the country are deprived of their rights due to various reasons.
COVID crisis, and we still have our masks, which has plunged economies around the world, has inevitably increased children's needs for humanitarian assistance throughout Ethiopia. And our studies indicate that 1 million children have plunged into poverty as of 2020 because of COVID-19, exactly like many other countries in the world, even in Asia. Until we reach a stage where no child is living in poverty, no child is forced into marriage, no child drops out of school, and no child suffers from violence, we have work to do. Together with you at EBC, we will highlight these challenges, we will put a human face to the suffering of children, and we will call upon everybody to act in the best interest of the child.
The European Union donated today 42 cars worth 1.3 million euros to support coffee sector development in Ethiopia. The support will help expand coffee productivity and maximize benefits from the coffee sector. During the handing over ceremony, Agriculture Minister Umar Hussein said the support is crucial to increase coffee production. The vehicles will help facilitate activities in extension works, preparation of coffee seedlings, an increase in technology, accessibility and research, he added. European Union Infrastructure and Economic Group leader Ms. Williams said on her part that the EU would strengthen its support for coffee development, especially for farmers. She added that a €15 million coffee project is being implemented in different regions of the country. Various projects are being implemented in 28 districts of Oromia, Southern Nations Nationalities and Peoples Region and Amhara states. The interim administration of Tigray has strongly condemned the killings perpetrated against independent public servants in the region and called on the inhabitants to vigilantly guard against the movement of the destructive force. Daniel Casanasmo.
In a communique, the interim administration of Tigray issued following the barbaric killing of the recent victim, Bzat Adessa, it revealed that more than 50 devotees who have been saving the lives of the people and the community service providers have been assassinated at different places. Among them is Bzat Adessa, a young engineer who headed the investment commission of the region. The statement added that he was abducted by unknown assailants 2 days ago, while he was preparing to travel from his office to Alula Airport in Mekelle. A search team of the Federal Police Security Forces found the mutilated body of the young man thrown around the locality called Marimebet. The statement noted operatives of the destructive force have so far assassinated 50 members of the interim administration who have been striving to extricate Tigray from the danger it faces. It further noted that it is unfortunate that atrocities are being committed against people working to save Tigray from danger. Such acts are not expected from human beings, and therefore savage killings have to be condemned. The interim administration reaffirmed its commitment to work with the security forces to further invigorate the active participation of the youth in the affairs of the region and the country. The administration urged the community to vigilantly guard against the activities of the destructive group that is killing independent public servants.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore.
This is Addis News Hour. Many African countries are facing a vicious coronavirus resurge, with the WHO warning that the third wave is picking up speed, spreading faster and hitting harder. According to WHO, COVID-19 cases have increased for 5 consecutive weeks since the third wave began on May 3, 2021. Kassan Chane has more from Africa News.
The third wave of COVID-19 cases is spreading faster in Africa and hitting harder on a continent facing a shortage of vaccines, the World Health Organization regional office warned Thursday. In Africa, the third wave is picking up speed, spreading faster, hitting harder, said Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, World Health Organization regional director for Africa.
The epidemic is resurging in 12 African countries, and we are closely monitoring rising cases in another 14. The third wave is picking up speed, spreading faster, hitting harder. We've surged past last year's peak, and at the current pace, continental cases will surpass the second wave's peak in just about 3 weeks.
According to WHO, COVID-19 cases have increased for 5 consecutive weeks since the third wave began on May 3, 2021. As of June 20, day 48 of the start of this third wave, Africa had recorded about 474,000 new cases, a 21% increase over the first 48 days of the second wave. At the current rate of infection, the current outbreak is expected to surpass the previous one by early July, the WHO said. According to the United Nations Organization, the pandemic is resurfacing in 12 African countries. A combination of factors is fueling this new wave of infections, including low compliance with public health measures, high local interaction, and a spread of variants. In the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, respectively, approximately 77% and 97% of diagnosed cases are related to the Delta Indian variant. This variant, first identified in India, has been reported in 14 African countries, WHO added. The resurgence of COVID-19 in Africa comes as vaccine shortages persist on the continent, where only slightly more than 1% of the African population has been fully vaccinated, according to the WHO.
Before we go, a quick reminder of our top stories. Ethiopia calls on United Nations Security Council to encourage Sudan and Egypt to respect AU-led negotiation on good. Legal experts reiterate electoral complaints to be resolved timely. An alarming third wave hits Africa as vaccination slows. Well, that's it for the news from me, Solomon Dange, and the rest of the English team here in the studio. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.